There are some countries that did not wait to have too many cases of COVID to lock down. And I can take two examples very far away one from the other. Russia has had 6 weeks of lockdown, and Peru 8 weeks up to now. But in both countries, cases still increasing, and in Russia is now the second country with more cases in the world. My question to you is why these lockdowns, which were quite strict, didn't work for them, and how much of the outcomes depend on government or state responsibility, and how much on individual responsibility?
About the implementation of public health and social measures in Russia and Peru off the top of my head, but what we can say is the virus needs people to transmit between. If people are in close contact with one another, and you have an infected person, it will transmit to another person through these respiratory droplets. And so everything that we can do to prevent that from happening, where we know this virus is, we need to, one, look for it, so that we know where the measures need to be put in place. But if the virus is spreading, when there are measures in place, then we need to assess that. And that needs to be, this is why we mention looking at a comprehensive approach and taking a data-driven approach. Look at the epidemiology in the situation, in the geographic context of where it is, break that down to the lowest administrative level as you can, look at which interventions are being used, how they are being implemented, and see if there's any cracks there, if there's any ways in which that could be done better or that could be done differently, and we need to learn from that. And I think that will help understand, why is the virus taking off in certain situations, in certain contexts, in certain communities. And because I say that because we know what has worked in some areas. We know what has worked, and that includes finding cases, isolating those cases, finding the contacts, quarantining the contacts. By doing that, you're actually breaking the chains of transmission. You're breaking the opportunity from an infected person to pass to another person. And so the interventions that are put in place need to have that in mind.
About the rapid increase in the number of cases in the Russian Federation, and obviously the situation there is developing. Equally with regard to Peru, there's been nearly a 50% increase in cases in the last week, and Peru is a relatively small country, is now up to nearly, I think it's 67 or 68,000 cases there. And there have been quite a number of cases amongst health workers in Peru as well. I think around 1,600 health workers have been infected, and a lot of infections amongst police officers and others. And we've seen that in other countries, how the first responders and the frontline workers are very often the ones exposed to the virus. It's some of the success of implementing stay-at-home orders and movement restrictions have related to how quickly it was done and when it was done. And the difference of 2 weeks in those stay-at-home orders could make a big difference in the epidemiology. It also depends to what extent countries had good surveillance in place and then added public health and social measures to that, as opposed to having very little in place in terms of public health surveillance and then having to put the lockdowns in place to try and suppress the disease spread. There is some magical thinking going on that lockdowns work perfectly, and that unlocking lockdowns will go great. Both are fraught with dangers. Just putting in place swinging lockdowns can do as much harm as good if it's not done, as Maria said, carefully. You choose the measures you want to put in place that are adapted to your social and societal needs, that are adapted to stopping the virus most effectively from what you understand as the transmission of the virus in your community. What measures can you use that are adapted and acceptable and implementable and sustainable in communities in order to stop the virus? And then whatever risk is left, and there will be risk left, you manage with surveillance and response. That is a risk management approach. We've said it since the beginning, a comprehensive strategy based on measures to mitigate the spread and suppress the spread of the virus, and measures to pick up and respond